Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Luann sent me a story out of Ohio, and this is one that'll get your attention. Baby in ICU after Elyria police raid home searching for previous tenant, the family says. So the police were technically at the correct address. It just would have been better if they'd shown up earlier when the guy was actually there before this family moved in. And they say they told the police that, but Molly Walsh wrote this for Cleveland.com. A 17-month-old child is in the pediatric intensive care unit after an Elyria police raid gone wrong. This happened after a woman and her son had traveled from Kentucky to stay with family in Elyria so the child could receive medical care at University Hospital's Rainbow Babies and Children. She and her son were in the home in the 300 block of Parmalee Avenue on Wednesday when officers knocked on the door and then entered the residence at about 2:12 in the afternoon. Elyria Police Special Response Team were executing a search warrant at the home, which was the correct address. Police said in a press release Friday. The officers had obtained the court-authorized search warrant as part of an ongoing criminal investigation. 2 flashbangs were deployed outside of the residence. They are devices that produce sound and light that are noticeable in day or night conditions and are intended to distract a suspect's attention. Diversionary devices do not produce a continuous burn, and they do not deploy or contain any pepper gas or chemical agent, according to the police. But they're trying to make it sound like these things are really innocuous, and they actually can be dangerous. So the woman said the smoke covered her son and that she could not attend to him in the moment because she was taken into custody by the police. She said she told officers her son was born prematurely and has pre-existing medical conditions. I kept yelling for my baby, she said in an interview with Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. The officers were in the home, searching the home. The baby was clearly laying there suffocating, turning red, blue, and they all just walked by him. Nobody went to him. Elyria police said detectives, paramedics, and the mother assessed the condition of the child, confirming that the child did not sustain any apparent visible injuries. So there's different stories on this. Meanwhile, the relative that this woman was staying with had been renting the home since February of last year. She said the Elyria police have come to the house multiple times before Wednesday, searching for the same suspect, who she said is the previous tenant. There have been 5 different occasions that detectives and CPS and officers have shown up at my house looking for the suspect. They've been told numerous times he does not live here. So the child is in the pediatric ICU. The mother said he was diagnosed with chemical pneumonitis, has burns on his body, and is struggling to breathe. So she said he was covered in smoke. She said she had guns pointed at her, and she's extremely shaken up. So the child was apparently in the home for 39 minutes, inhaling whatever came off those smoke flashbangs. In its press release, police said any allegations of the toddler's exposure are false. Meanwhile, the mother said the police need to take responsibility for the raid. They're trying to cover it up, she said. At least an apology or something. We have no apology. We had no nothing. They never asked how the baby was. They're denying anything ever happened. The investigation that led to the affidavit to obtain a search warrant remains active and ongoing, so therefore they can't release all of that yet. So here's the thing you have to understand. To get a search warrant, you have to go and fill out an affidavit and present it to a judge or a magistrate, and they review it, and then they issue it. So if you go look at that affidavit, I suspect it's going to say, oh, we have information that this person is in this house. This is their residence. This is their address. The question is, did they put in the affidavit? However, we've been told 5 times by the present tenant that he does not live there. I bet they didn't. Meanwhile, I did look up some more information about these flashbang devices. And the U.S. Court of Appeals, the 7th Circuit, back in 2000, wrote that police cannot automatically throw bombs into drug dealers' houses, even if the bomb goes by the euphemism flashbang device. And so there's a famous case out of Michigan, Detroit, where one of those reality shows that has a film crew following the police around doing dramatic stuff followed a police raid into a house where they deployed a flashbang. And by the time it was over, not everyone had survived the event. Now, it's true that the flashbang didn't kill anybody, but it was a big part of the story of what led to the confusion in the situation. And it turns out that the police were kind of in the wrong spot. They were supposed to be going into a different unit in the same building, I believe. And so, these kinds of crazy things can happen when the police show up at the wrong place. And so here, they were at the right place. Technically, that used to be where the guy was. But it's been a bad address for that guy since about a year ago. And having been told that 4 or 5 times, you'd think they would know that. Now, if they said, hey, look, we staked the house out. We saw the guy coming and going there all the time. Then it'd be a different story. But the story is that they're like, no, we live here. The other guy left. If that's true, then you got a real problem as to how that affidavit got signed and how the warrant got issued. So I'll be curious to see about that. But also, if you look up the flashbangs on the internet, you'll find all kinds of information about them. And they can hurt somebody. And so it's a question of how close this was to somebody when it flashed and banged. And so, yeah, that is a euphemism, as pointed out by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. And you can't just say, well, it's just a flashbang. Yeah, and it can hurt you. If it went off next to your head, you'd probably go deaf, at least on that side. So all kinds of problems here. But there is a baby in the ICU now. Now, it's true, the baby was already going to the hospital. That's why the baby was in town. But the reason the baby is now in the ICU has more to do with the raid on the home than anything else. Police say that's not the case. So I'm sure this will eventually shake out, as they say. But I am very curious, because somewhere down the road, that affidavit will become public. And the question is, did the affidavit contain the information that said, this is the last known address we have for the guy going back to over a year ago? Or will it say, upon information and belief, we think this is his address? Because it sounds like these people rent. And so it seems you should be able to go talk to the landlord, couldn't you? Say, by the way, who's renting from you? And by the way, do you know who this other guy is? Oh, yeah, he used to rent from you over a year ago. And so I don't know. It's possible there's facts here that we don't know that could make those obvious and simple questions irrelevant. I don't know. But it just are the kind of, these are the kind of questions that occur to me when I read a story like this. So, Luann, thanks for sending that, and we'll find out more, I'm sure. But it's pretty straightforward at this point, and that is, they say, we moved into this house, and the police are looking for the previous tenant. We've told them that 5 times, and they still showed up, flashbang grenades, and we have a baby now in the ICU. So there you go. Baby in the ICU after Elyria police raid home searching for previous tenant. According to the family, Molly Walsh wrote that for Cleveland.com, and Luann sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. You only grow when you are alone.